All right. All right. And good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you may be. And welcome to this edition of Coach's Corner with these, my friends, my mastermind partner, my fellow coaches. My name's Oliver Blue, and I'm one of the co hosts. And I'm joined here by none other than John Ebron.
Blessings.
Yes, sir. And Coach Wayne Moody.
In
We
the
will,
house.
yes, in the house. And oh, it's so good to be back together. These Coaches Corner sessions are um, they happen once a quarter for 2025, and this is our second quarter edition of that. And we're so excited to be here. Thank you for joining us. We're just gonna have almost like a fireside chat tonight, or I guess I don't know, with with all these politicians afraid of having what do you call town home meetings? What do you call them?
Yeah.
The town home meetings or whatever. Maybe we'll just have a coach's corner town home meeting. How about that? Because we're not afraid. And we're not operating in fear. But thank you for being here. We welcome you to just sit back and uh, listen in as we take this opportunity to give back into the communities in which we serve as coaches and as entrepreneurs, and we're just delighted to share and to be here together. So, how about it, young men? How you guys feeling tonight?
Still,
Hey,
yeah, getting there. We're still, kicking back with some tea and making sure that the vocal cords are doing what we want them to do, but feeling really good, feeling good in the body, feeling good in spirit.
Yes.
James Brown says, "I feel good." Na 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 na.
Well, we can count on Wayne to bring the energy, and uh, and that's what you're going to get here tonight. So what we're going to do is just like um, we wanted to have a conversation tonight uh, around the idea of thoughts and um, what we have not only experienced in our own life, but what we have learned through our own discovery and what we share with our communities and with our clients is that thoughts are very powerful. In fact, thoughts become things,
Hmm.
and it is like the beginning of the creative process, right? And so tonight we want to talk about how our thoughts are creating our experiences,
Hmm.
and given today's environment, you know, how else could I say this? Given the elephant in the room, because we're all here. If you don't believe that you're here, just pinch yourself. We're all here in 2025 uh, in this global community that has become um, like the world is no longer like seven continents,
Can we say
right?
elephant and donkey?
Can we do what?
You said elephant, but I think that there's an there. I mean, for America, there's an elephant and there's a donkey. So I mean, we don't
Well,
just we want to make sure we give everybody a space. The elephant and the donkey, and
the
some
elephant and the donkey. Well, you from Belize, so I know you bring a different vibration to it.
but the donkey is the ass.
Yeah, the ass, right? So yeah, so you know, here's the landscape. The world has become visible in real time to everyone, and so we all feel what everyone else feel, right? Or we're all in the same field, FIELD. But what we feel, FEEL, is going to be determined by the thoughts that we hold.
Yeah.
It's going to be determined by the thoughts that we hold.
Preach.
Because like I said earlier, our thoughts, which are no more than ideas, and when you string ideas together, right, it becomes this energetic field that has this magnetic and energetic uh, foundation that causes it to bring the very thought or the idea into a manifestation or a personal or a global experience, which, like we say here, the landscape in 2020 is that the world has become this real-time experience for all of us, no matter what country you live in, no matter what your background may be in terms of your nationality or your ethnicity or your gender or your religious persuasion. It is what it is. It is what it is. And so we're going to unpack that in so many different ways, because here tonight we got the Minister of Transformation of the country of Belize, who is this dynamic life coach. We also have John Ebron, who is a consultant and a dynamic leadership teacher that resides down in San Antonio, Texas. That he has this military background, and he's really in depth in structure and training, and then I'm here. You guys that uh, hang out in my community, the way I bring it. Me, it is all about identity. Know who you are. So we're going to put all of this together in one little pot here tonight called Coach's Corner. We're going to stir it up and we're going to see how it tastes. See how it tastes.
Yeah.
And so with that said, guys, look, just chime in.
You're amazing. You are so amazing. You are amazing, Oliver. And both you and John have been I must say, you guys have been such a support for me. And somewhere along the line, we talk about God. When we talk about God, we talk about the source. We talk about the infinite, the omnipotent, the omniscient. I mean, all knowing, all being that spans every space in the universe, And I know sometimes people get a little bit like it's a thin line, because people want to say, oh, the universe. But my thought is that not the universe, but the one who embodies and is occupying the whole universe. I mean, that which has been created. But when we talk about the source and the one that breeds us, thinks, because the fact that we are here today is because I believe, and I love to go to my brother John, who said, when God thought of expressing God's self, he thought John, he thought Oliver, he thought Wayne, and therefore we are a unique expression of a thought that was conceived in the mind of the maker. And more recently, I've been becoming aware that there are many things that were conceived because of a thought. Think of every religion, every dogma, every belief system. Somebody thought something. And that has led to a group of people today we acknowledge and we say we mourn and we feel with the folks who are Roman Catholics because the Pope died, right? And again, talk about being a community. We're all impacted by that particular event. And the thought that was shared when he died, everybody is now thinking around that awareness that the Pope that was is gone. Who was the first one from Latin America? That itself was a different manifestation.
Yeah.
And now as we're talking about a new Pope to lead the people who would consider themselves to be Roman Catholics, and then there's a thinking that people have if they say they embrace the Roman Catholic or Roman Catholicism, right? But one of the things that I want to say as we delve into this thing with thoughts, and you guys can tell me what you think about this. Thoughts are seeds. Words are seeds. Actions are seeds. I was a biology major, and one of the things I learned is that in a seed, has all the genetic makeup of bringing forth after its kind. An acorn give rise to an oak tree, give rise to a forest. So, in talking about thoughts today, last week I was listening to something that Maya Angelou was sharing, and she said that a thought, the scientific aspect of the actual thought that we think, when we think a thought, chemicals and hormones are released.
Right.
Those affect the brain, which something science has been studying more recently, reference to neuroplasticity, where they say the very brain formation is impacted by the hormones and the chemicals that are released. And we know that if you think toxic thoughts, you're going to be toxic. If you think positive thoughts, you're going to be positive. It's just another law in itself, reproducing after its kind. So, as we're talking about our thoughts creating our experiences, because I remember 2 years ago, Oliver, when you said, "Hey, let's start meeting together. Let's do Coach's Corner." And then we pulled John in, and now we have Coach's Corner, which was because of a thought. You said something to me a few years ago. You said, "Wayne, you are the minister of transformation." That was a thought. And you spit out that thought, and I said, "Give it to me."
You took it and ran with it.
My brother John, he knows sometimes he's like, "Wait, you and your thing," because he starts talking and I start thinking, "Oh my God, I'm just thinking." And again, he and I noticed that what we believe is going to definitely affect how we're thinking.
Mhm.
And I was listening to some recent history that is being brought up, reference to the people of melanin. And reference to the people of melanin, knowing that as far as origin is concerned, and this is another can of worms to be open, as far as the origin of mankind, everything came from, they've shown that one woman, they do genetic studies to show that it all came from her. And I mean, when you talk about, I mean, there is so much interpretation of when you talk about different scriptures and different writings. But one of the things that I do believe is that writings go back beyond what we might be known as scripture. But I'll use that as a preamble for us to go in as far as thoughts or seeds. And if you plant a bean, you're going to get a bean. If you plant a mango, you're going to get a mango.
That's right. That's right. So let's not assume that everyone understand what you mean when you say melanin. So be plain. So when you talk, so when you use the term melanin, we're talking about brown skin, dark skin, right? Ruddy skin. Okay.
And today they're doing they want to create melanin. I mean synthetic melanin, right?
Yeah.
Well,
But they don't know how to extract it from the body.
the average, I mean, just said this is just. I guess you go to AI or Google and say the price of melanin is more expensive than gold.
Mm.
Average person of color has at least $40 million worth.
$40 million worth of melanin in their DNA, in their system, but we haven't figured out how to extract it, right?
Did you see the movie Get Out?
No.
If you haven't seen it, go see it, because in the movie, these folks were trying to get in the skin of these black folks.
Okay.
That filmmaker is so smart because he's saying a lot of subliminal messages. Because you know, in the last Super Bowl, there was a young man that was featured, and he was singing a song saying, "They not like us, they not
Yes.
like us." And some people didn't understand what he was saying. They not like us, because honestly, there are a lot of people, but they're not like us.
Yeah, and that's no offense to the non-melanated population. It's just a fact of life, you know. And I guess God had a sense of humor when he had the prophet in the Old Testament say, "Let the rich or let the poor say, I am rich."
Ooh, that's a loaded statement right
He said,
there.
"Let the poor and what he was talking about was thoughts. Let the person that is thinking that he is impoverished or in lack or in scarcity say that he's rich, because in reality he is rich, especially if he's melanated. Because like Wayne said, there's a fact that within the uh, within the community of the melanated human, there is about 40 million street dollar value worth of melanin if we could extract it from the human being. We haven't figured out how to do it. So in reality, if you have been thinking of yourself, if you've been thinking thoughts of poverty and lack and scarcity, and you are as dark as I am, that thinking is incorrect, and we're here to correct that thinking tonight.
I think that really, for me, gets to the heart of that statement, that our thoughts are creating our experience. Because we were talking just before we went on air about how universal law is immutable, right? Universal law works every time
And all the time.
at all times. And so whether I bring honorable intention to the utilization of that law, or if I bring manipulative intentions to the utilization of that law, if I follow the recipe, I get the meal. And we are so dynamically made as humans that if we're not careful, it can work against us. Our marvelous minds can craft some stuff, and if we don't set intention, we will be building a forest fire when we're thinking we're building a house to, weather the storm in. And so we have to be self-aware and situationally aware to determine if what is being created by our thoughts is working for us or not. Right? Because I know for myself, I came from a very impoverished mindset, impoverished everything, right?
Mhm.
But which led to a very impoverished mindset. I had no idea. I had not read any of Dr. Carol Dweck's work on the growth mindset or the fixed mindset. That's cute. That's adorable. I'd never heard any of that before, right? But I had made decisions to support the thoughts that kept me fixated in an impoverished state of being, right? And I love this conversation and I hate this conversation because sometimes I feel like we can weaponize this conversation, right? Well, it's your thoughts that got you where you're at. Mind your damn business. Don't worry about my thoughts, right? But if you could take that same message and then turn it into an empowering journey that a person can go on, what if you could think differently about the same experience? You don't need to have another experience. Maybe if you just thought differently about it, that door that closed for you, maybe something else would open up. And maybe the closing of that door could actually work for you when you learn how to use the results of your thoughts as the litmus test to the next set of thoughts that you need to make. When I first started teaching resilience in the military, this was the first time really we identified that it is your responsibility to manage your thoughts. But we gave no training really, and no coaching, no mentoring on if that is in fact my responsibility, how do I get after it? We told people go do push-ups. Push-ups will solve everything, Just go do some workout. Go work out. You're not feeling good, your body, go do some push-ups. You're mad at your wife, go do some push-ups. Your lawnmower stop working, go do some push-ups, right? And that'll just fix everything. But what we begin to really realize, and what happens oftentimes, is we have a big cultural shift. Something switches up on us that we cannot rest in the undone work, right? It's almost like the eagle, when she's ready to get the eaglets to fly, she began to remove some of the comforts of the nest. And now all the feathers are removed and all the jagged edges of the sticks and the thorns. And now you can't rest there. You got to grow out of that, right? And so we started teaching a very simple concept called ATC. ATC. Activating events is what triggers your thoughts, and your thoughts have consequences, and the consequences of your thoughts yields the results in your life, right? So the activating event is going to be the activating event, whether it is, a positive thing or negative thing, whatever it may be. It's that thing that triggers your five senses, that something has happened, and now you're processing this input that's come your way. I like to use getting cut off in traffic, because I only know English until you cut me off in traffic. Then I know all kinds of languages, right? But that activating event, something outside of my locus of control, can't do anything about it. It still impacts me, right? And we have to be prepared with our thoughts to deal with that kind of reality, because you can say, I'm going to boil this world down to only the things I can control all you want. There is something, if it's nothing but the weather, right, that's going to be outside of your control. And you're going to perceive that through your five senses, right? And so the work that you've done on your mindset before the activating event is going to determine the kind of thoughts, those seeds that Wayne was talking about, that you're going to have. So when I first got certified as a coach, I was really focused on leadership. I was focused on how can you powerfully and positively impact other people. But as I began to move through my career, I got fascinated with mindset, because where you set your mind is where your thoughts are going to springboard from. Now, if I set my mind into scarcity, into fear, into hatred, if I tell myself every day, the moment I step out that door, the big bad world is after me, it's going to get me. And I saturate my mind at that level. I set my mind there.
Yeah.
Every time, if it's a mosquito bite, it doesn't matter what it is, right? I'm in this defensive posture. And what do we do when we get defensive? What's going to come to us when we position ourselves here? And that's the result of our thinking, right?
Yes.
What's the acronym, John? What's the acronym?
ATC, activating events, thought, and consequences.
ATC.
Yeah, the consequences, generally speaking, the consequences of our thoughts are two major things. It is our energetic state. It is our energy in motion. It is our emotion. That is a result of your thinking, right? So if I get cut off in traffic and I've elevated my mindset, I could be in a prayerful, giving, energetic state. I could say, oh, that person must be in danger, or that person must be in trouble. I'm going to pray for them. I hope they're okay. I never do this, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know. Pray for me. I get better. I am not there yet. I turn into Wile E. Coyote and Yosemite Sam. That's where I go. Right?
Interject here quickly something. My mentor shared an acronym with me too, right? Mira Morrison, right? And the acronym is TEAR, right?
EAR, okay.
Where the T is the thought that you think, right?
Mm-hmm.
The E is the emotion that is as a result of the thought that you think, because the thoughts are connected to what you feel. Like, for example, and an example I would use right here, right now. Can you think of being in Houston a few weeks ago with some friends of mine?
Mm-hmm.
And you think that thought and certain emotions come up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the thoughts actually somewhat stimulate the emotions, and the emotions are energy in motion. Mm-hmm. So thoughts are connected to energy, because if you think lack, then you're going to feel constricted.
Absolutely.
If you think abundance and you're grateful, then you're going to feel expansive. So the thoughts leads to the emotions. Then the A is the actions, like you're saying. You do something, right, but the actions then leads to the results that you're going to get.
Correct. Yeah.
So TEAR, and again, one of the fundamental things that we're taught in Brave Thinking Institute is the fact that our thoughts become things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And everything is created twice, in the sense that you see this flag here. Somebody conceived it. Somebody shared today, a Belizean shared that they bought one of the flag from, what's the name of the site in China? Timu,
Oh, okay. Yeah, Timu, yeah.
and it doesn't have this thing is not right what they're printing. It looks like it, but that's not it. So it's man, Belizeans are gonna be pissed off if they see that shirt that is saying this is Belize, because that's not what was in the mind of the maker.
Right, right.
Going back to the whole concept of our thoughts, because I thought of coaching the nation of Belize. That's where it started. Then that led me to feeling a certain way, acting a certain way, and seeing a certain results that I'm experiencing right now. And I think it works if it's going to give you something that you desire, and it's going to give you something that, and the book says, as a man thinketh, so is he. Because if you think you can, you will. If you think you can't, you just won't. But there's a thing, there's a lesson to learn. How do we, and you say mindfulness comes up there. So how do I discipline my mind in order to think the thoughts that are going to give me an elevation that is, or we say a more higher elevation? Because I can think some thoughts, and in the book it says whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are worthy, whatever things are, think of these things, because again, the thoughts lead to the life that we're living in. Like what the topic about our thoughts are creating our experiences. Oliver, you take the mic.
Oh, well, hey, look, you guys are doing a great job. John, did you want to finish your?
Yeah, what very similar to what you were sharing, Wayne. This ATC model, like I said, the consequences, similar. Two things. It's the energy, right? So when you talk about emotional management, really we need to reverse engineer back to the thinking, right? That's where you have the best possible.
That's what I was over here thinking.
Yeah. So that's where you have the best possible chance to render an outcome that's really more towards your values and what you're looking for in life, not in focusing on the results. Not bad, John. Why did you do that? Stop that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Results, when you have a result in your life, that is the congealed manifestation of that intangible creation that you started off with. It is here. Now you can create a new set of results to replace that results, but results are what results are, right? So instead of getting into guilt and shame about what has manifested, we can use that as a learning experience and go right back to where we have the most control, which is our thoughts, right? So the first consequence, again, is our energetic state, our emotions. So if I know if you and I have the same experience, but you think from this place and I think from that place, and your mindset renders higher, elevated, more positive emotional expression, and mine doesn't, I have an opportunity to do something different with my thoughts, right? So the energy, like we said, it changes potential energy into kinetic energy. It puts energy in motion, emotion, and that emotion floods this physical body where our consciousness is held and puts the body into motion. That's how we get a reaction, which is the second consequence. So the first consequence is our emotions. The second consequence is our reactions to that activating event, which leads to our results. And what we want is more of a curated response that's in alignment with our values, right? So if the question becomes, well, how do I work with this mindset? If you say mindset is where it's at, and before you get into results and all those things, you really want to work on your mindset. How do I work with my mindset? And I say there are three major things that helps you with the mindset. This is all in my book that I'm writing right now. See It, Say It, Soar: 3 Phases to Ultimate Life Strategy. The mindset consists of, first and foremost, your values. What is valuable to you? And then secondly, your creed. What you say, not about what you're doing, but about who you are. When we first start training, or let's use the word, I'm gonna use the word, people don't like the word indoctrination, but I'm gonna use the word indoctrinating recruits into soldiers in the United States Army. We use the soldier's creed as our principal tool to do that. You got to say the soldier's creed to go to the bathroom. You got to say the soldier's creed to come back from the bathroom. You got to say the soldier's creed to get something to eat. You got to say the soldier's creed before you can go to sleep at night, right? And it's rewiring the brain towards who you are as a soldier. First line, I am an American soldier. I'm a warrior member of a team. I've been retired for 10 years now, still stuck in my brain, right? I serve the people of the United States and serve the Army values. They live the Army values. I will never quit. I will never be defeated, right? I go into those. And so your creed is all your I statements. What's valuable to you? Your value system. Who are you? And consequently, who are you not? Your personal creed. And with all of that information, you also build a vision statement. That vision statement starts off like this: someday, finish it. Someday I will live in a world where there is peace and harmony. Someday I will live in a world where pancreatic cancer is eradicated from the face of the planet. Someday you have a vision, and this is not something that was created within you necessarily, more so given to you by divine inspiration. So you take the pressure off of yourself of creating something out of nowhere, and you give yourself an opportunity to get still. And with things that are valuable to you, and with the knowledge that has been given to you of who you are, you begin to see a world you want to live in. So that has how you elevate your mindset. And we move from mindset to skill set to aligned action, right? And so all of those things are in that intangible realm where the thoughts lie, right? That's where it all really begins for us. Now, where do we typically begin? We just grab a shovel and start digging, right? Physical activity. We're gonna make something happen. Jump off the cliff and grow wings on the way down. And I'm not saying there's no value to that, but I'm saying if you want to be curated, if you want to be aligned, if you want to be focused and not just a lot of talk, you want to give yourself permission to have a human experience, to get still in the presence of the divine and in the presence of all that's been afforded to us, and begin to take that stuff, right, and turn it into information that's going to inform the lifestyle that you are crafting. So those were, and so I kind of got my major point here with the thoughts creating your experiences. I really want people to feel more empowered that life is not happening to you. I know what that is like, to be in that mindset of saying, well, you don't understand. The butcher and the baker and the candlestick maker, the dog bit me, my wife left me, and I'm gay, I ain't even got a wife. And I got one can of soup left in the cupboard, and it's got a dent in it. And all my chickens got spots, and all this, now all this all this happening to me, right? And where we are stuck behind everything else that has all the control. I really want us to feel empowered to say, if I'm experiencing something that is not what I want, there's something I can go back and do some work and get the cart out from in front of the horse and get this thing moving in the direction that I want it to. You can change. You do not have to stay loyal to thinking that's counterproductive to the life you want to live. And I think that's where, again,
I like what you said. You don't have to
kind of figure out that.
You said you don't have to stay. You don't have to stay. You don't have to stay. You're saying that you don't have to stay. Mm-hmm. And again, it sounds like you were actually teaching the whole idea that, I mean, Oliver, you can agree with me, because when we talk about transformation in dream building, right? In the whole process of, let's say, coaching a client, the first thing is being aware where you are and take responsibility for where you are, because I cannot take you to where you desire to go if you don't know where you are. And that responsibility, we got to say, I mean, where I'm at right now in the space that I'm at, it's my responsibility being here. I'm not a child. I mean, as a child, you grow up and you might have care providers, but as you grow, wherever you are, if you don't like where you are, you got to start thinking about, what is it that I want to do, or where is it that I want to go? And I like what you said. You want to, and this is where like visualization comes in, because I know where I'm at right now, but I can tell you honestly, I got to take responsibility for where I'm at. I can't blame nobody. I mean, the economy, I mean, there are different influences, but at the end of the day, I have a part to play, a major part to play in whether I'm going to stay where I'm at or whether I'm not going to stay where I'm at, because I could just say, well, life is happening to me. It is what it is. I'm a victim, right? But I am aware where I'm at, and using the faculty of my imagination, I can think, where would I love to be?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part of the beginning of the process. But as we imagine where we'd love to be, we ask some questions when we're doing dream building. Imagine where you'd love to be. And the first question you ask, when you think of where you'd love to be, does it make you feel alive? And it should make you feel alive if you're not going to be where you are, right? The second question is, where you envision to be, is it in line with your core values? The third question is it going to require me to grow? The next question is, do I need the help of a higher power? And the next question is, are others going to be blessed from what I'm going to be experiencing? And that is like where we say we test where we want to go. Because honestly, like, I think three of us here, we come from like backgrounds that people would never think that we would be where we are today. Where are you from in North Carolina? Where Oliver was from, where I was from, the South Side. And to think of me now, Minister of Transformation of a Nation. But where we are, where we came from does not necessarily have to be our destination. But
Yeah.
it begins with, like I said, responsibility and using the faculty of the imagination, because there's so many laws are involved with all of that there, where we talk about the law of attraction and the law of vibration. But Oliver, I'm sure you can give us some insight into putting these pieces together in this cauldron that we're mixing up here tonight.
Boy, I told you it's going to be a pot of soup. And you guys have just put so many ingredients there, and I'm over here exploding. But hey, I get this all the time when I connect with these two guys. So you can imagine what it's like when we're off script, right? But hey, look, if you're just joining in and wondering what's going on here, this is the Coach's Corner, and I'm here with my friends and my fellow coaches and my mastermind partner, John Ebron and Wayne Moody. And we just do this. We just come together and create this conversation once a quarter as a way to give back to the communities that we serve. And when we say the communities that we serve, being all three of us being in the mentoring business, the personal development business, the coaching business, however you want to put it. You know, we operate in and have created communities where we're able to offer our expertise to help others, just like you, just like we all are products of what we do. We are all products of being mentored, and we know the value of being mentored. We know the value of having someone to help us to wake up to the power of our thoughts, and to realize that where we are was where we thought ourselves into, and that we can use the same principle to think our way out of it into something that's more appealing to us, something that's more glorious, something that's more in alignment with our purpose and our being. And so we're talking on these lines tonight. And whether you're watching the replay, just say replay if you're watching the replay. If you're watching it live, just put in the chat live, and we'll come back around and give you some love right in the comments at some point. But yeah, to wrap all of this up, there's just so much here, but the principle is just like these guys have both shared, is that accepting the reality that we have always created our own experience.
True. Yeah.
That where we are is where we've thought ourselves to be. And regardless of the outside forces, regardless of the environment, regardless of all of the different factors that we give credence to, the reality is, right, we are creative beings, and the principle of creation starts with thinking. And there is a principle, and there is a practice, a practical practice that we can all learn and become what I call masters, right? We can master our life so that we can, graduate from thinking that we're victims of lives, that life is happening to us. But in fact, life is not happening to us. We may be thinking that way, but in reality, life is happening through us, right? And our thoughts is what's at the root of the majority of those that are or that results or the results of the life that we're living. So um, just so much more we can say about this here,
True. Yeah.
given the current landscape of the world that's been, I had the thought today. This is a thought I had today when I was thinking. And I thought this, I said, if you're in a position of leadership
Mm.
and if you don't know who you are, and you're in a position of leadership, regardless of what level, that means that you are setting the direction for how others are thinking, how others are being, how others are experiencing. Are you providing an expansive or a contractive environment for people to flourish or to pull back? If you are in a position of leadership, and if you don't know who you are, my thought today said you need to resign.
Mm.
You need to resign that position. Go and find out who you are, because if you don't resign that position of leadership and your thinking is off center, you're going to either abuse yourself and or abuse others.
Absolutely. 100.
And that's what we see happening on a global stage, right here in this real time Tuesday, the 22nd of April.
Can I say
Where there's a tremendous amount of abuse and suffering, and so much is happening on the negative end, right? However, all the while, all of us individually have the capacity, right? We have the capacity to redirect how we experience ourselves in this real time, right? And it all starts with knowing who you are. And that gets to my core message, you guys. That's my core message, finding the real you.
yes?
And so the thought came to me today. If you're in leadership position, if you don't know who you are, you need to resign. Go find out who you are, then come back and ask to be reinstated, so that we're not leading people into suffering, but that we're actually leading people into a revelation and an expansive experience of who they are,
Mm-hmm.
of life.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my thought for today.
So that's powerful. That's so powerful.
I'm
Go ahead.
talking about knowing who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's something that we can't finish talking about. I'm going to mention here when it comes to how our history helps us understand who we are. And when you have folks saying, don't talk about your history, and then you have folks on the other end of the pendulum just talking about the history, because it's like too extreme. You can say, don't talk about it, but then you can just be talking about it. But I think transformation is, like I said, take responsibility for where you are. So you need to know your history.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know your history, somebody else is going to tell you who you are. And they're going to say, oh, you came from monkeys. But if you know who you are, take responsibility and know where you're coming from, then you can say, okay, this is what I've envisioned it to be.
Yeah.
And there's so much to unwrap in the whole idea of even us as a people of color, making sure our young ones know who are we.
And we're having to get creative on doing that, because the institutions that were supposed to safeguard those information, those institutions themselves are currently under attack, right? And so, largely speaking, in our culture, a lot of our history was handed down by word of mouth, right? And at the onset of technology, I made all my little discovery calls. Then I'm hitting my little record buttons because I don't want to take any notes while I'm talking. I'll let my little iPad do that for me, right? Now just all this technology, but I think we do need to get back to passing down our history by word of mouth. Why? One, because it fosters community, right? You literally have to sit at the feet of the elders if you're going to hear the words of the elders, right? So that's not something you're going to get in an email. And so much of what we want in this modern age of connection that we're missing comes out of a mutation or complete absence of community. I was
Yes.
sharing, just as an example, last week I was having a conversation with a gentleman about this idea of wedding. I said, let me Dungeons and Dragons this for you, right? Let me take it out of the normal churchy talk. Let me make this spooky and exoteric, okay? I said, now when you think about weddings, a wedding is a sacrament. A sacrament is a sacred ritual, so sacred that it requires an officiant. Any and everybody can't just, bippity boppity boo, and now you married, right? That's cute. That's adorable. You can try if you want to, but you got to be in a position and prepared to fulfill that ritual. But here's the interesting thing about this ritual that most people, even married people, don't realize. In the true, authentic exercising of that ritual, there is a part of the ritual where the officiant, the pastor, the priest, whoever it is, does not talk to the couple at all. As a matter of fact, they turn their back on the couple and then they turn towards the community. And they bind that community. That's why you don't go to everybody's funeral and you don't go to everybody's wedding just because you think you're cute in your dress. Keep your tail home if you're not part of that community, because you are going to be bound by ritual right when that officiant says, this new couple that is now experiencing oneness, you are now responsible. You are the fertile ground that couple is being planted in. And if they grow up like they was planted on stone and they grow up and the first sun burns them out, it's not just that couple's fault, it's your fault. And they make the community affirm with I. Will you support the growth and development of this couple? And now you're responsible. So now you are in this community. But we're in a space now where a community could be with Mei Lee over there in China, right? And Leroy over there in Detroit somewhere. Like your community could be all over the place, right? So you got to be careful how you connect yourself. And when we don't really set an intention on how we're going to gather in these thoughts and categorize and disperse these thoughts in a way that is helpful for the community, we lose some of the power of it. And what I feel like we're at right now, I know we got to be careful about time here. I can go on for a second, but when we miss the mark consistently on making thoughts work for us, we begin to believe that thoughts don't work at all. And that's what individuals say, well, that stuff, that's old stuff. That's not relevant for today. That stuff don't work anymore. No, it's not that it doesn't work anymore. You haven't worked it. Your beautiful brain was crafted eons ago with the prime directive to keep you safe. And it is your job to develop a consciousness above that prime directive to say, I'm going to take this life beyond safety and into self-actualization. That's your job. And the job of doing that's my job, that's our job. And the job of doing that is managing our thoughts. Managing our thoughts. Your thoughts are nuclear reactors. If you learn how to crack it open just right, you have the energy to change your life from whatever it started from. We call it being winners in my community, right? You're in the winner circle, WINN. It stands for what is now, what you're currently experiencing, but also what is next. So how do you get from this point to that point? You got to establish what is, and then you can establish what you desire. And that's only when you do that can you create a roadmap between the two, right? And all of that is way outside the tangible world. It's in that first creation that Wayne was talking about at the beginning of our talk today. It's in your thinking. And thinking can get beat out of us. When you get stuck in the tangible world and never get back into that intangible world of imagining what's possible, it becomes harder and harder to do it. So get around some thought-provoking people. You know, what is it? What's somewhere, Wayne? What, 30 to 80,000 thoughts we think the same, you know, about 90% every day, the same thoughts. Get away from people that's thinking the same thing that you were thinking yesterday. Not unless you're happy with what you had yesterday. And get into a space thought generated that takes you to the next level. That's all I got. Go for it.
Well, Wayne, we know
got
you
a
have
commercial break here. Folks, if you're listening right now, right? These two guys are going to be in Belize the end of this year for a summit. John and Oliver are keynote speakers at the Sankofa Mastermind Summit. And if you think this session is a session, can you put a little commercial on there for me, Oliver? Because in the end of this year, the weekend after Thanksgiving, folks from my community and from some of these communities will come to my country. I'll be hosting the first Sankofa Mastermind Summit, and keynote speakers John Ebron and Oliver Blue and yours truly is going to be phenomenal. And next three months, we're going to have the next time we do Coach's Corner, I'll be in Belize.
Yes, you'll actually be back home. And Wayne is yeah, I got the reel, and so yeah, let me show this right quick. But this is something that you can believe yourself into. So let's share this with.
Attention, friends from across the globe. The Sankofa Mastermind Summit 2025 is here, and it's our first in-person summit, hosted in breathtaking paradise of Belize. Join us from November 29th through December 2nd, 2025, for an extraordinary 4-day experience that will inspire, uplift, and empower you to take your dreams to the next level. This year's theme is Dream Builders, Giant Slayers, and it's more than just a summit, it's a call to action. Imagine yourself immersed in the rich culture and beauty of Belize, connecting with like-minded individuals ready to make a lasting impact. Your investment in this transformative journey is $3,000 per person or $5,000 per couple. Secure your spot with a 25% down payment of only $750 per person or $1,250 per couple to guarantee your spot to this awesome experience. This is more than just a summit. It's the opportunity of a lifetime. Don't miss your chance to reignite your vision, build lasting connections, and truly transform your future.
All right. So Wayne is fulfilling one of his thoughts and ideas from many years ago, and he's hosting his first live summit. He's had virtual summits for the last 3-4 years here in the state, but he's actually moving back to his home country. And the dream he's always had was that he wanted to become the coach for the next generation of his country. And so he's going back as the minister of transformation for the country of Belize. And now he's inviting all of us, his friends, his partners, to come for a 3 to 4 day summit that's happening the week after Thanksgiving. And it's going to be a great time. Yeah.
And can Oliver, I spoke to Bernard, right? And I don't know if you can put his number in the reference to WhatsApp him in Belize if you're interested. And he'd be waiting to hear if you're interested in being there. If you can put his WhatsApp number in the or can I just put it in?
I think I may have to put it in, Wayne. Let's see here. You can go to comment field. You got comment field. What's the number?
501 615.
Okay, hang on a second. 501
615.
615.
404047. And
so
Bernard
that,
is the coordinator.
yes.
That you can reach
So
Bernard on WhatsApp. Bernard on WhatsApp in Belize. 501-615-4047.
it's in the comment field.
And
I don't know if y'all can see it on your
okay.
side, but it's in the comment field. So yes, if you're an adventurous person, if you're looking to elevate your life, if you're looking to leave the country for a while, Belize is the place to go. Belize is the place that we're going to be in November. Come join us for this dynamic summit that Wayne and his staff has put together. John and I are so honored to be not only going and going to spend about a week. We're going to be there a little longer than the conference, but to really experience the richness of the culture of the people of Belize and then to be there with other dream builders, giant slayers. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be what's the term? It's going to be
Life change.
life changing. It's going to be exotic, right? We're going to be in central part of the. It's called called the central. Yeah,
And I'll
absolutely.
be a host. I'll be a
And
host.
and Wayne's going to be the host, and he's really put his heart into this, and great plans. We're staying at a great resort, and we're going to be experiencing that local culture. But then we're going to spend some time learning too. So it's about learning and fellowshipping and meeting new friends. And he's guaranteed us that on your way back to your destination, you'll be saying, when are we coming back?
Right.
So we look forward to the experience, and we created that experience. Wayne's thought, has created that experience for all of us. So if you're adventurous, you're looking for something different, something dynamic, something that's life changing, come join us for the 2025 Sankofa Mastermind Live Summit in the country of Belize this
And
November.
I must say thanks to you and John, because you and John has been helping me lifting up my hands when I'm feeling weary and when I'm being challenged, because it hasn't come easy and it's not coming easy. But I thank you guys for being my partners in believing as I'm believing with you guys. So I got to jump off here. I have a client waiting in the Zoom room. But
all right. Well, guys,
all right.
look, until this is July, I think, when we come back together. Until July, when we have our next live Coaches Corner, Wayne and John and I, we send you blessings. We pray that you take hold of the empowering self that you are to begin to reshape your thought, reframe your ideas, and begin to live the life that you love. You can do it. You can do it in the midst of everything else that's going on. So until next time, we salute you all. Thank you. All right, guys. Next time.
Till next time, my friend.
Yes, sir. All right, my friend. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.